Okay, we want to find f of g of x and g of f of x, where f of x is x cubed, g of x is the square root of x. Okay, well, how do you write down f of g of x? Well, x has been replaced by what? G of x. So I replace x by g of x, and I get g of x cubed. Now you'll see most textbooks just skip and plug in that square root of x. I don't want to do that. I don't want you to do that. I want you to be sure you know what you're doing at every step. So literally, we replace x by whatever's in here, right? Now we can replace g of x by square root of x, right? That's the square root of x cubed. Okay? But at this point, we got to say x has to be greater than or equal to 0 because we can't do the square root of x that it isn't. So there's your domain restricted to positive numbers, or non-negative numbers. Okay, g of f of x equals, well, g of x is square root of x, and g of f of x is square root of f of x, which is the square root of x cubed. But x cubed can't be less than 0. Okay? So x cubed has to be greater than or equal to 0. Well, so x has to be greater than or equal to 0, because if you cube a number less than 1 or less than 0, you're going to get a negative, right? If you cube a negative, you get a negative. Negative times negative times negative. Otherwise, you're cubing something that isn't negative, and it's either going to be 0 or positive, right? Okay, so those are your composites. And I say reason out the domain and range of this composite. Well, I want you to work on that a little bit. I haven't done everything. On sketching the fundamental triangles, labeling the hypotenuse and the midpoint, probably not going to ask you to label the hypotenuse and midpoint. Very simple, but I probably don't have class time to explain it to you yet. And when I do explain it to you, probably next week, it's very simple. You just use the Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse. If you know the rise and the run, you know two sides, so you can find the hypotenuse, right? If you don't know the Pythagorean theorem, you're terribly deficient, so review it. Okay? Nobody over the age of 18 should be allowed to walk around freely if they don't know the Pythagorean theorem. Maybe that's a little bit of an extreme view. Okay, seriously, it's part of Western culture. Okay, you're uncultured. Anybody feel uncultured?
Couldn't you also use the distance formula?
Distance formula? No, use the Pythagorean theorem. We don't have a distance formula. We have fundamental triangles and the Pythagorean theorem. There's no such thing as a distance formula. You don't need the distance formula if you can do a fundamental triangle and the Pythagorean theorem. It's totally superfluous, okay? And it's absurd. It's ridiculous. It's a terrible thing. It's undermining Western culture and has been for years. We have to get rid of it.
Don't they mean
Well,
basically the same thing?
I'm going off to extremism. I don't really mean it.
Don't they mean basically the same thing, though?
Oh, they're totally equivalent. You can prove that. Just don't use it. Okay? Yeah, actually now I said we didn't do the stuff with the vertex and so forth for the quadratic function. And there it is in number 11, so that is part of it. But that's what we've been doing. Okay, if you've been awake and following up, you're at least aware of it. And simultaneous equations, and two simultaneous equations and two unknowns. That's exactly what we've been doing for the last week and a half. Okay? So you should be well equipped to do almost all of this. If there's something you don't know how to do, go look up how to do it. And, I've shown you most of it here, and you should know most of the rest. And when I look at what you do Thursday, then I'll have a better idea of what else you might need to know. So be sure you have that in the box when you come in Thursday so I can take a quick look at it and make decisions about what we need to do to get you prepared to do this.
This test,
Okay? Huh?
these tests you gave us.